1970 is likely the most consequential season in NFL history. It's the season the league that we know today came into being when the AFL and the NFL merged into one. In theory, these conferences would be balanced, but of course that's not always the case. In some seasons, the imbalance is especially high, and those are the seasons we're going to be looking at today as we count down the 10 largest gaps of quality between the AFC and the NFC. And we will be doing that using C-Score, a metric created by this channel to evaluate every NFL team during the Super Bowl era beyond simply looking at their records. For a deeper explanation of C-Score, be sure to check out the description of this video. We will be ranking these conferences by the difference in average C-Score within the conference. Let's take the 2019 season for example. The teams in the AFC had an average C-score of negative 0.521. In the NFC, it was 0.447. The difference, 0.968. Not overly complicated. The higher the number, the higher the ranking. Thank you for joining us today. We're ready to get this thing started. We begin here at number 10 with the 1975 season. Coming off Super Bowl IX, where the Pittsburgh Steelers knocked off the Minnesota Vikings to win their first ever Super Bowl title. The Steelers then led the way in giving the AFC the leg up this season, outpacing the NFC by an average of 7.741 points per team. The Dolphins and the Colts were the next best teams in the AFC that season. The bottom three teams in the NFC, as we can see here, are the Giants, Bears, and Saints. And we can take a look here and see where these gaps are coming from. The Steelers are pushing 40 points in C-Score. The Dolphins remain strong well into the 20s, and the Colts clear 20 points as well. On the bottom end though, the Saints and the Bears are kind of in leagues of their own. The Saints at around negative 35, the Bears at negative 28, while the Giants aren't helping things either at negative 17. The Steelers would go on to win the AFC once again this season, and for the first time out of 3 times in Super Bowl history, they would be facing the Dallas Cowboys. The Steelers represented the AFC well by winning the Super Bowl for the second straight season. In 9th place is the 1991 season, coming off Super Bowl 25, a thrilling Super Bowl where the New York Giants, representing the NFC, took out the Buffalo Bills by a single point. The NFC was once again able to carry the weight into 1991, beating out the AFC by 8.076 points. But the Giants are nowhere to be seen here. It's the Redskins, 49ers, and Saints that are carrying the water. Dumping the water for the AFC are the Patriots, Bengals, and the Colts. This Redskins team, of course, is one of the greatest in the entire Super Bowl era, second best only behind the 1985 Bears with that 51.468 C-score. That's almost double the next best, the Niners with 25 and change, and the Saints just pushing up against 22.6. These bad teams, though, they're pretty bad. The Patriots minus 21.5, the Bengals at minus 24, and the Indianapolis Colts of 1991, the single worst NFL team in the Super Bowl era that wasn't an expansion squad. The Redskins, of course, went on to Super Bowl 26 and won the whole thing by beating the Buffalo Bills. As we move along in the countdown, we also move along in NFL chronology. The very next season, 1992, takes the 8th spot, and it should be no surprise the NFC retained their crown by an even larger margin of 9.309 points. And just like it was in 91, the defending Super Bowl champion did not make the top 3. The Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Eagles take those spots. The AFC's worst teams are the Jets, the Seahawks, and the Patriots. The Dallas Cowboys got back to the top of the league with their C-score pushing 38 points. The 49ers are still very good this season, the rare team to break 30 in C-score without leading the league. And the Eagles are flying high with their C-score pushing 22. The Jets are in the bottom 3, but they're able to salvage a C-score in the negative teens. Seattle wasn't nearly as good as they neared a negative 30. The Patriots, they couldn't do the same, landing a negative 30.055. The Buffalo Bills got back to the Super Bowl for a third straight season, this time facing the Dallas Cowboys, where Dallas won the game handily, solidifying themselves at the top of 1992's rankings. We now move ahead in time to the 2017 NFL season, taking its place at number 7. This coming off the first ever Super Bowl that went to overtime, which was won by the New England Patriots over the Atlanta Falcons. The Patriots, members of the AFC, were not able to pull enough weight to give this title to the NFC, where they, by 9.346 points, did have the stronger conference. They were led by 3 excellent teams, the Eagles, the Vikings, and the Rams. As for the AFC's worst, the Cleveland Browns don't look too out of place here, but the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts sure do. The Eagles were the best at 30.653 points. The other 2 teams in the conference were very close to each other, within a point and a half, the Vikings in the 22 range and the Rams in the 21 range. Now these bottom 3 teams for the AFC, the Broncos were Super Bowl champions just 2 years earlier. Here they are at almost negative 17. The Indianapolis Colts, playoff contenders, playing in the AFC title game just 3 seasons earlier, negative 25. And the Browns are the Browns. They didn't win a game this season. They're at negative 29.82. The Patriots returned to the Super Bowl as AFC champions, where they met up with these same Philadelphia Eagles. But it was Philly who took down the crown, winning the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history. At number 6 is the season of 2006. Coming off Super Bowl 40, where the Pittsburgh Steelers represented the AFC, giving them a victory over the Seattle Seahawks. It's time that the AFC took back the baton here. They do win this conference battle at 10.73 points per team. And once again, the defending champion does not represent the top 3. The Patriots, the Chargers, and the Ravens do that. The NFC's bottom 3? Not so pretty here. The Lions, the 49ers, and the Bucks do bring up the rear. It was pretty tight in both of these conferences. The Patriots led the way at 28.3, the Chargers right behind at 26, and the Ravens at 24. And likewise, the bottom team here, the Buccaneers, 21.4, the Niners pretty close, 20.1, the Lions down at negative 17. The AFC won this battle against the NFC, and they also won the battle in the Super Bowl. But they didn't do it with any of these 3 top teams. Instead, it was the Indianapolis Colts who took the crown, went to Super Bowl 41 against the Chicago Bears, and won it for themselves and for the American Football Conference. Our next season is 1977, coming in at 5th place. Now, this was the season where everything settled in. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Seattle Seahawks were expansion teams the year before settling into their permanent homes in the NFC Central and the AFC West, respectively. Well, this season was won by the AFC, and firmly, by a score of 11.247 points per team. The AFC's best teams, 2 of them coming from the West, the Broncos and the Raiders, and the Dolphins. The NFC's worst teams, 2 of them coming from the Central, the Packers and the Buccaneers, along with the Saints. Denver cleared 30 points in C-score by fewer than half a point, but they got it done. The Raiders strong at 27.5, coming off a Super Bowl win. And the Dolphins, again in the 70s, always very good at 21.2. The second-year Buccaneers drastically improved over their first season, but it was so bad that they still sit here at negative 30. The Saints here at negative 25, the Packers holding in at negative 23. As the AFC's top team this season, the Broncos did advance to Super Bowl 12. And while the NFC may have been weak overall, it had a good team in the Dallas Cowboys representing them in the Super Bowl, and they were able to take home the title. We push ahead now by 35 seasons, coming in at number 4, the 2012 NFL season, coming off a year where the Giants pulled off yet another miracle in winning Super Bowl 46 over the New England Patriots. The 2012 season remained with the NFC, but yet again, the reigning champion misses out being in the top 3. The Seahawks, 49ers, and Packers take that crown. The AFC, not so great here. The Raiders, Jaguars, and Chiefs. We'll look at them in just a moment, but we got to take a look at the NFC first. What a bunch of great teams here. The Seahawks, ready to emerge as eventual Super Bowl champions, that lead the way with 28.9. Their division rival and the division champion that season, the 49ers, clear 26. Then it's a pretty big drop off down to 16 and change for the Packers. The Raiders at minus 25.9 would maybe be the worst team in the conference in most seasons. But the Jags and the Chiefs were terrible. Jacksonville negative 31.8, Kansas City 34.2. Now, despite the fact that they led the way in C-score, the Seattle Seahawks did not represent the NFC in Super Bowl 47. That honor went to the San Francisco 49ers, but they were unable to take home the championship, losing in the Blackout Bowl and the Har Bowl to the Baltimore Ravens. The seasons are ping-ponging back and forth. Back in time we go to 1979 for our third place entry. The Pittsburgh Steelers are defending Super Bowl champions, having beaten the Dallas Cowboys the season before. And unlike a bunch of the other teams we've seen, they lead the way here in bringing the AFC the crown this season by over 15 points per team. 15.059 to be exact. They're joined here in the top 3 by the San Diego Chargers and the New England Patriots. The NFC's bottom 3 represented by the Minnesota Vikings, San Francisco 49ers, and Detroit Lions. The Steelers, there's only so many ways to describe how great they were during this time, with their C-score clearing 36. The Chargers had a powerful all-around unit with a C-score at 28.5. The Patriots don't have the strongest C-score for a third-place finish, but it was good enough for third at 11.815. A strong decade for the Vikings ended with a thud in 1979, reflected in that negative 17 C-score. San Francisco was a bit worse, nearing negative 21, but it was Detroit at the very bottom, pushing up against a negative 30. But it was once again the Steelers winning the Super Bowl for the 4th time in 6 seasons. And here at number 2 is the first season after the merger, 1970. There was no AFC or NFC champion before this, but the Kansas City Chiefs did defeat the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl IV. However, as has been documented on this channel, the first season was difficult for most of the new AFL teams, so it's pretty clear that the NFC gets the Duke here by an average C-score of 17.147 per team. And leading the way for the NFC were the Minnesota Vikings, the Detroit Lions, and the LA Rams. The AFC's worst, the Houston Oilers, Buffalo Bills, and the Boston Patriots, as they were still known. We're going to run through these NFC teams rather quickly. Minnesota 37.8 in C-score, Detroit at 33, still the best ever C-score by a non-division champion, and the LA Rams at 23.5. These Patriots were terrible, negative 40.5. Buffalo has a very bad score themselves of negative 30.7, and they were still 10 points behind the Patriots, and the Oilers are sitting here at negative 24.5. The more interesting story here is what happened in the playoffs with these teams. First of all, the Rams, second place in their division, did not qualify. The Lions were also second place in their division, making the playoffs, losing to the Dallas Cowboys, and the Minnesota Vikings won their division, defending conference champions as it were, lost in the playoffs to the 49ers. So not only did these teams not represent the NFC in Super Bowl V, none of them even won a game. The NFC was represented by the Dallas Cowboys, but they lost to the AFC champions, a former NFL team, the Baltimore Colts, in what is now known as the Blunder Bowl. Holding down the number 1 spot is the 2004 NFL season. And if you saw our video on the most and least stacked playoff fields of all time, this probably won't come as too much of a surprise. The New England Patriots won Super Bowl 38 the season before over the Carolina Panthers, representing the AFC then and representing the AFC now, as they take this crown by an average C-score of 17.506 points per team. The Colts and the Steelers join them in the top three. The bottom three, these are powerhouse teams of the past, not so much this season, the Cowboys, the Bears, and the 49ers, not exactly representing their conference well. The single best Super Bowl winning team the New England Patriots have ever had was right here in this season, marked by their 36.882 C-score, just a dominant team from top to bottom. The Indianapolis Colts, a good season, but still 9 points behind in the 27 range, and the Pittsburgh Steelers with a 15-1 regular season, only able to grab a 23. The wasteful team here, though, are the 49ers. That negative 33 is more than 13 points worse than the Chicago Bears. And the Dallas Cowboys come in here third at negative 18. We've already spoiled it, the Patriots do win Super Bowl 39. They did so by beating the NFC's best team, the only good team the NFC had, the Philadelphia Eagles. Taking a look at the entire top 10, we see that it is evenly split. 5 entries for the AFC and 5 entries for the NFC. On the whole though, at least from this top 10, the AFC holds the edge. The Broncos got 1 season at the top, while the Patriots and Steelers took the top spot in 2 seasons each. The NFC was as spread out as it can be, with 5 different teams doing the deed. 7 of these teams wound up in the Super Bowl, with 6 of them winning it. Only the 1970 Minnesota Vikings failed to win a single playoff game, which lines up quite perfectly with Minnesota Vikings history. Thank you so much for making it to this point in the video, our first in 2025. 2024 was awesome because of you, and so too will 2025 be. I appreciate your continued support and hope you'll take the time to continue that support by liking and sharing this video. Don't forget to subscribe and ding the bell to be notified of all future videos in 2025 and beyond. Let me know what you think about all of this. Were these the seasons you had in mind? Did you perhaps think more seasons during the NFC's 13 straight Super Bowl wins would be included? Maybe some of the top 3 or bottom 3 teams weren't what you expected. Feel free to share your thoughts on this or anything else you may have on your mind. Click the playlist that's on your screen to check out our many other offerings. Thank you once again for joining us today, and until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.